Here we go. I should start up Fusion just so I can talk about RC car stuff that I've been doing. I've been big man baby over the weekend. Let's start up Fusion, which I have about 20 days, 19, 18 days left. Oh yeah, and then we got to pop out YouTube chat. Oh god, it's this one. Hold on. No, we're not doing this one. We'll do Volume 6, Jukebox Heroes. Maybe that'll be better. This is My Definition of Chill by Deckard of the Space Cowboys. Volume 6. Let us refresh this one. Reload that. And then we got to go to YouTube. And Don't Bother VOD, my most visited YouTube channel. I don't do much on that YouTube channel, but I do live stream to it. And wait, this is the same one. I just queued up the same exact, hold on a minute. I got duped. XII, that's not 6, is it? DJ Deckard, My Definition of Chill, XII. We've gone Roman numerals instead of numbers. I hope that's tenable. We haven't even started Fusion yet. I need to get my YouTube chat popped up. What's up, Milk? Yes, well, it's not so much a schematic viewer, MS Paint, as it is my scratch pad and my master document. That's where all of the stuff that we worked on ends up. And so if you got to do an equation, if you got to write something down to remember later, it's all there. If I were doing something like, say, for instance, like using Fusion 360, there are systems by which to put notes into your schematic designs and stuff. And while that would be more official if I'm collaborating, Paint is just easier. I can just cut and paste from a data sheet. You know, I can put whatever I want in there. I can draw whatever I want. I find it to be a lot more freeing and more like a sketchbook that you would have when you're like writing down your design. But since I'm doing this with you guys, I want to do it digitally, so MS Paint is the easiest thing. Okay, let's get YouTube up. Whoa! Pause that. I don't need to see that. And we're gonna pop this out. Wow, I look bloated today. It's been raining for like a week straight. I haven't had a chance. Hey, what's up, Weaselbox? Yeah, it's a good place to doodle, as I would doodle like in class, in my notes and stuff like that. So I don't know, it just took naturally to it, and I have fairly readable mouse handwriting. So, all right, so we got the whole system up here, the whole thing that I need to automate a little better in the future. What's my mic doing? Hold on, I'm gonna fix my mic. Oh, I was sorry about the noise. I thought I muted. Yeah, that's not good. This shirt is so light that it's all over the place. I like your notes. You inspired me. Ah, good. I'm glad I did. I still have been too chicken to email the creator program people at AutoCAD. I was thinking about whether or not I should give them a phone call, which is incredibly fakeable these days, but I don't see much reason why they would be trying to dupe me into giving them information. They seem legitimate. It took a little while to get to that conclusion. Did a little soul searching with chat. It would be nice to get a version of AutoCAD that's not going to pester me about file storage and archiving old things, because I have a lot of stuff on AutoCAD right now, and not a lot of it's archived. In addition to that, I should probably look for one of those plugins that allows me to download everything so I don't lose anything in changing licenses. I don't think that's going to be an actuality. I don't think you lose anything changing licenses. It's probably going to be like, hey, do you want to make a file? You're going to need to archive about 10,000 things. I'll be like, oh, okay. I don't know how I declare what the parts, like the parts library parts are either. So, I mean, like, all things considered, it might be a good opportunity to destroy everything I've been working on, back up everything on my own machine, delete everything in the cloud, and then selectively place it back up so I'm more organized. Like, start a new parts library for Eagle, and, put in all the parts that I have that have 3D models and pads and stuff. Let's open up. Oh, Fuss is already running. Wait a minute. What's going on there? I guess I did tell it to, yeah, expiring soon. Ugh. Okay, so there's no pending updates. All right, so what I've been working on is man baby stuff. Giant man baby stuff. This is admin. I need to be in. Oh no, this is all projects. RC car projects. There's just so much. There's so much. And then I have made a little RC car frame that I can work on a body mount with. Mandates for my man baby. It's getting weird. All right, let's see. 18 days. God damn it. I don't know what happens in 18 days. I think I'll still be able to use the software, but I don't know what it'll allow and disallow me to do. So what we have is we have a Lancia 037. It's a sort of a resto mod on the Lancia Monte Carlo, but this is a slightly different model. I think this person got it from a game. This is not what the taillights look like on the 037, but the 037 I'm using just as sort of a template for what this thing should look like, and I've gotten kind of crazy with it. The Atomic SZ2 is the frame on this thing. It's an expensive frame, and I bought it because I said, hey, you know what? I'm a streamer, and I get to do these like man baby things, so I'm going to get an expensive 1/24th scale RC car frame, see what it's like. And it turns out it's like leaps and bounds from the cheapo, Z car scale stuff. I found this outer wire frame on Thingiverse. I believe it was Thingiverse, and it's a low poly Lancia. So I went to work making an inner shell using Fusion 360's shelling capabilities, and I made it very thin because it's a little RC car body, and then I sort of bored out these vents, and then I did a lot of triangle fixing on this thing. I had to go through a lot of the areas of weird cuts and stuff and sort of repair what the normals were and where the vectors were. I had to learn Blender to do that because Fusion's tools are very powerful in one way, but they're not incredibly good. Like, you can't grab an individual node and move it around in 3 dimensions or add nodes and delete nodes to your pleasure. I mean, this thing looks like it was built with quads because you can see that these quads have been split into tris. It looks like it was built with quads, and I would love to get my hands on a design file that still had it using quads, because then you could probably make a pretty easy inner shell. And I guess Blender does that too. You can do the expand or add thickness commands with Blender, and you can create, like a millimeter inset on it, I think. Blender's not great at assigning numbers, so when it comes to the engineering stuff, I'm putting it back into Fusion. But then what I was able to do is convert that, because I did all that triangle work. I made sure that it was a nice solid. I was able to make it into a body in Fusion. And what that means is that I can bore things into it, I can combine it with stuff, etc., etc. Is this about soldering or not? It is about soldering. I haven't started yet. Jerk off. All right, so what I can do is I can go to the opacity, set it to be like 20%. Now we can see where the body is in relation to the stuff inside. I was able to find on Amazon these little magnetic pogo pin connectors. They're pretty handy. They're basically just 2 magnets and then a set of pogo pins, and you can access them from the other side. So I have 6 connectors. I could do running lights, brights, right turn signal, left turn signal, and brakes. That's 5, 6 is ground. And you can hook those up to the radio and control them through the controller. So I will be able to have all of these different lights for when I get around to it. But right now, what this means is that I have these magnetic connectors providing me with a connection to the outer shell body. So it's pretty cool. I've been busy. I've been busy working on this stuff. Basically, I kept the front bumper that we designed a while ago, and I added posts to it in order to meet up with the magnetic connector. And then at the top, I made a sort of a hold-down bracket, and the posts have cuts in them to hang on to the back end of the connector. So they're fully open so that I can get wires in there. And that basically means that I put the body on rear first, and then it clicks down into the top. And when this thing accelerates, there's a little bit of plastic right here that's going to hopefully keep the body on the rest of the frame. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, that's what I've been working on over the weekend, and I've been trying to get it to 3D print. I can show you some of the prints here. I think I need to re-zero the print bed, though. I think I need to re-zero the print bed, because I got some good prints, and I got some all kinds of bad prints out of this thing. And then getting the wheel height, I think the wheels are still off a little bit from my 3D model. I think the wheels are still off a little bit, the physical wheels versus the 3D model wheels. But yeah, this filament's darker than what it looked like in the Stream Projects channel, because my phone overcompensates for darkness. But now that I've got it here in the lights of the shop, it's much easier to see. So these are all cursed. I did this print, and I said, oh, it looks like I need to, I don't know, maybe I'll try again and just see if it sticks. And then I got this one, and it's like, oh. All right, turn the music down a little bit, it's too loud. So I did this print, and it didn't stick in the front, and then I did this print, and it didn't stick in the back. Utter horseshit. What a waste. What a waste. And then I have another failed print that's cleaning off right now, and when that's done, I need to put a piece of paper under the print bed and zero it again. Oh my god, all those hashtags. What CAD software do you use? I use Fusion 360 because I originally used Fusion. I used Eagle, and I learned... This song is so distracting, I can't stand it. Hold on. There's all this, like, whispering going on during it. It's like, shut up. Make better music for my streaming purposes. We'll get a little bit of orbital going on in here, and that'll be fine. Yeah, you're on YouTube, so you can't hear the music because it's a war of attrition. And if I were to play music, it would get smacked down by daddy YouTube so hard that my channel would end up being a divot. But what we do is, in order to skirt the copyright demons that exist in our society today, what we do is we play this on a special channel. And that special channel is only broadcast to Twitch, and it is not recorded for the VODs. So if you're interested, what kind of music does Bother like? Well, it's pretty much a little smear of everything, but I do like my deep house, but my tech house. But I've been doing My Definition of Chill, Volume 3 from the Space Cowboys. I've been listening to a lot of their stuff since 2011, since I saw them at Burning Man. They put together a good mix. It's a little bit poppy, and it's just kind of fun. But anyway, I listen to everything. Anyway, so 3D printing bodies has been an affliction over the past couple of weeks, and it's all starting to come to a head. So I found these connectors on Amazon. There's like $10 for two pairs of them, which is a little ridiculous. And then I ordered the wrong ones, but all of these are on GrabCAD, which is an amazing way to find parts, and they're accurate enough. This one, on the other hand, this print, it got its lean on, and this is my fault. I didn't tighten the knob on the 3D printer, and as I was printing, it was able to shift back and forth, and that's what caused this weirdness, this little lean that it's got going on. This one was close enough that I could get an impression of what my Goop 3D printer really does in terms of, like, syncing with Fusion, because I haven't tested that yet. So what I did, printed it out, and then bam, the hardware fit like exactly. I gave 0.2 millimeter clearance for a lot of things because of the way PETG is. But yeah, so now if I mount this clicks into place. If you get it to the right spot, it's a little hard to figure out. There it is, click, and then that drops down, and it sort of fits the wheel wells. The wheels do get caught, and I lifted it by like a millimeter for the subsequent prints. These I can't really get that good of a test on. I guess I might be able to remove all the support stuff and then install that bracket, and I can see if the front clicks into place and if the rear clicks into place. I could cut this like right here. I could cut it, and then I'd put them together and they would make one coherent model. But I think this is zeroing issues. I think the zero on my bed isn't quite right. That's why it's drifted from the front to the back. But yeah, I've had a couple fail like this, unfortunately, and I had to add like tons of support to the edges here and here because they weren't properly printing. They were all messed up in a lot of the models. This is a new gray filament that I got. It's the same brand. I don't think it's Elegoo. It's somebody else. and then we lost the mirror, and then I just took a Sharpie to it. That's why it's red. But I wanted to see what it would look like with paint on the windows. I have a paint marker on the way. Maybe I'll mess with that. But this is Orbital. This is from this is the Orange album, I believe. It's the one with this is The Box Part 1. The iconic The Box da-na-na-na-na, is the second half of this song. The big famous Orbital track. One of the songs that turned me on to electronic music. But it's not in this mix. It's only the first one. I'm old, I know. Orbital, yeah. Wait, Brown album? What album is The Box on? Shit, I used to listen to this stuff nonstop. Yeah, this is some old school Orbital. But yeah, this is gonna look pretty cool. I mean, the 37 Resto mod is sort of the going template for this project, just because this body fits very snug with the Lancia. I would have done a Delta, and I still have all the 3D files for the Delta. And then what I really wanted to do was the Honda City concept car from like 2014, but I couldn't find a 3D model of it. I don't really want to make one, but the city car would be hilarious because then I could put one of those little OLED screens in the front, and it would be this dinky little hatchback. But this one fits the frame a lot nicer. I'll just have to see how hard these magnets, you know, hold on to the rest of the body, if I can actually drive the car without it ejecting the body, which I think is going to happen. I think that's going to happen. Oh, I see. We got first-time chatter, but not first-time chatter, Weaselbox on Twitch. Now you can actually hear what's going on. Yeah, the YouTube player is a lot better, but I can't do music because YouTube is at war with creativity. So I guess these are trash. I don't know if anybody knows goop printing, the UV resin printing, and can identify what they think happened to these two. I mean, it seems like it lifted away and it didn't make any supports, and then when it started to do these, this part, I guess, connected with it and was able to finally get it to lift. I don't know if that's going to happen subsequently. Maybe I need thicker supports. Hey, what's up, Brink? How's it going? How you been? How you been? How is it going? Why isn't there anything? I guess that broke off. The front support. Ah, it's so annoying though. Gotta throw these out. These are fails. Goop 3D printing is such an interesting process, and I know next to nothing about it. We bought the printer, broken, and it needed just a little like jiggling of a wire and then a full cleaning, and then it was raring to go. So, and this is what I've been printing with it, is RC car bodies. But like with this one, with the opaque material, you can see the shape of the car a lot better and kind of how cool it looks in low polygon rather. Everything the Cybertruck should have been was a low res. It needed a couple more triangles on the Cybertruck, and it would have been a pretty striking looking car. Let's get this out of here though. Garbage. But yeah, it matches my 3D model. My printers match the models. Pretty cool. That's a little weird. 70%. It's like go 100 or go for nothing. We are going to work on circuits today. I'm basically going to go. Wait, what happened here? I'm going to go full bore building and ripping up. I'm going to go with surface mount because I'm more used to it, and I think we'll be able to actually get the LEDs working today. Hyundai N version 74. Is that their super fancy cyber car? Because that was another consideration too, but I couldn't find a good model of it. Yeah, this one's crazy. This would be tough to do in resin. I think I could manage it though. Because it would have like a separate. Oh, but that's what I really want in resin right there. Wait a minute, I'm getting distracted. Yeah, I don't know. It is a pretty cybery looking car, huh? And then I could do, I wouldn't be able to, the dotted effect I would only be able to do by printing it dotted. Because at this scale, an LED is like the whole size of the headlight. But I could still do brights and turn signals and stuff. That would be kind of neat. This one's more smooth. It's more smooth than the, because what I'm doing is Lancia 037, which is, there's a 37 and then there's the 37 Resto mod. And so the Resto mod is kind of what I'm following, but not entirely. The Resto mod does a lot with like carbon fiber and stuff like that. Like this one is, I believe that one's high enough quality to talk about cars that I'll never ever be able to afford. The Resto mod involves some like venting in the front here, and then there's these on the side that have been kind of a little bit redesigned. This is a lot smoother. But like the old school one is still pretty amazing looking. Oh, good. We don't get too many pixels to distract us. 0201 LEDs. I don't want to torture myself. No, I want to have something that like headlight LEDs on it. But I'm figuring that out later. Depending on how much current the microcontroller that they used can source. Otherwise, I'll have to put a transistor on it. What's up, Alpatro? It might be sync, actually. Maybe I'll want to sync current, because usually they can sync more current than they can source. But yeah, that was the goal, is just like, wow, look at this car. This is such a cool looking car. I wanna make my all-wheel drive RC car look like this car, because it's a, you know, it's a rally car. It's a cool looking rally car. It looks kind of a little bit cyber, a little bit futury. I had to bolster these, by the way, the mirror hangers. I had to, what is this, Placebo remix? I don't know, man. It's just the Deckard Chill Mix Volume 3. This one is probably 12 years old. 12 years ago. Ha, I got it right. So, yeah, so I found these magnet connectors, and then I found the part on GrabCAD. Because GrabCAD's sometimes really good for weird parts like that. And so with that part there, I have been able to sort of make the connections after doing countless hours with this body shell in order to close it up, in order to simplify some of the areas, to get it to have like normals and not be a total crazy polygon like madness. I had to do a lot of work in order to do that. The way that I was able to get the body to shell out like that is actually to take the wheel wells, close them off, and then extrude a base off of the bottom. And then I could use the side view in order to plot out where to horizontally cut. Fusion is able to take a mesh in the mesh tools, and it's able to actually shell the mesh. So you can use the shell command on the mesh, and it'll bore out the entire thing, and then I do that horizontal cut in order to trim off all of the bottom pieces and the wheel wells, and then you're left with a body of a particular thickness. The problem being that it uses mesh tools, so you can't really iterate through your designs. You got to be really careful about what you're doing, and you've got to be very deliberate, because if there's errors in the mesh for the body, it's going to go crazy, and it did. I had to repair a lot of stuff. But yeah, that's how I was able to make this into an RC car shell. Now, that stands to reason there's still some issues with the placement of the wheels, and they're so frustrating when I try to get stuff perfect, and it's just not quite what I actually have. So, wow, I'm so glad that I can finally purchase viewers. Fucker. Doing mesh and fusion sounds like torture. A lot of the repair work I took to Blender, because in Blender you can go in and you can individually edit lines and surfaces and stuff. Now the mesh tools here, there's surface and mesh tools in Fusion, and they are very powerful. If I want to repair any particular piece, is this too loud? This is too loud. No, I didn't do this entirely in Fusion. The low poly model I got off of GrabCAD, I believe, or no, Thingiverse actually. I got the low poly model. And then all the extension and stuff, I believe, where did I do that? I think I did that in Blender. And then closing off the bottom or cutting out the bottom, depending on what the operation was. It's like a mix between the two. I was basically throwing an STL file back and forth. But Blender's really good for getting in and individually editing things. So in Fusion, I did the cuts for the wheel well, but in Blender, I repaired some of the triangle work that was a mess. There were overlapping triangles on a lot of different areas. It's a combo of the two. I'm going back and forth between them. Fusion is a lot better at the engineering stuff. When I want numbers to be involved, like when I want to point to beyond that. But when something doesn't feel right, you can pull it into Blender and kind of fix it. And then in Fusion, if I wanted to stitch this surface up right here, if the triangles were a little weird in here, I can delete the surfaces in Fusion, and then I can use like a delete and where is that one? I think maybe it's in Surface. Yeah, see, I can trim, unstitch, reverse the normals. I can do all that in Fusion. They do just about the same thing, the two different programs, but Fusion is a little bit more engineer focused than Blender is. But Blender allows you to kind of get into the nitty gritty and really do it. The fact that this is low poly also helped me. If this was a high poly model, I would be cursing myself constantly. I would be in distress. But if I want to, for instance, pull in an LED and throw something in there, they're not interchangeable files. No, what I have to do is I have to do save as mesh, and then I can pull it into Blender, do my edits, export an STL file, and then I can import an STL file into this, and then work with it from there. It's a mess. It's a mess. I wish that what would tide me over is if Fusion had the ability to edit the nodes individually. If I could go into this poly right here and move that point around. I shouldn't have clicked and dragged. I just set the whole model off. I have to Control Z. Oh, never mind. We didn't do anything. That was just the opacity. So yeah, it was a bit of a struggle, and I'm still learning it. I mean, a lot of this stuff is me learning how to do this stuff and then relaying all of the information to you guys. But like these 3D prints in PETG were like 5-second prints. It took me like 10 minutes to print all this stuff out once it was designed. And then I'll have to redo the front end. I don't know if I'll do like a clear. I would love to be able to do a clear print for these, so the headlights were actually just lenses and they lit up. And then do like clear for the windows, so I could see the radio equipment inside and see whether or not it's connected properly. I just glue in some glass pieces here. I could extrude that inward and make it. You've got fun dreams. You know, it's capabilities that I'm expanding into. It's all about what can I do? What can I do with this? But yeah, I'm just playing around right now and trying to get that 3D printer to work. Every time you run into a problem, you learn something. Like, hey, maybe it'd be in my best interest if I locked down the build plate. This hasn't even been cured yet. This thing is still wobbly. But like, that ain't supposed to happen. Is SolidWorks a similar program or not for 3D printing? Compared to what? For Blender? You know, Blender's focus is a little bit different, but it can be used to make solids for 3D printing. With Fusion, a lot of at least in terms of how I use Fusion, I am putting down a sketch, putting numbers to that sketch, and then extruding solids from there, and then that goes to the 3D printer. FDM. Yeah, this is from the printer that we got that was dead. Supposedly broken. It had a flickering UV bulb. And so we took a look, and it turns out the connection to the UV bulb was a little bit frayed, and we just redid that and just fixed the whole thing. So yeah, the resin printer that we fixed is exactly what I've been using. I've been having a bed adherence problem. This one got its lean on just because I didn't tighten down the axis. So I gotta re-zero everything. I gotta re-zero the axis. It's been working though. I mean, this is like a really detailed print. This is kind of insane. You know, my what is it called? The PETG printer could not do this, but it can do brackets and stuff much better than this stuff, because this stuff is not that strong. It's not that strong. Blender's more engineers, Onshape or KI CAD, I'm told is easy for non. Blender is not more for Blender is for three-dimensional artists. There's no. Things like, I mean, Fusion is way more for engineering. I've not used anything else really to speak of. It's bad enough for me to learn as an EE Fusion stuff. I'm no expert. I'm no expert on modeling or that kind of stuff. I'm more of an expert on the blinking lights and how to get them blinking. God, I'm in such shit shape today. I had the sensor, the insulin pump and the sensor went out on me in the middle of the night. And then I started up the sensor again and had 2 cups of coffee with a splash of creamer in it. And yet, 401, yeah, I think you got them backwards. Blender is a CAD add-on, but it's weird ecosystem. I just use it as a way to edit the individual solid. Look at what the fuck happened here. I didn't eat anything. I did not, I swear to God, I did not eat anything. What happened? My liver must have gone fucking crazy. I had 2 cups of coffee with a light splash of creamer, and I used Splenda. How did this occur? Why did this occur? What the hell is going on? I don't understand. What the fuck? No, insulin fucked off. My liver said, hey, I'm gonna release a whole bunch of glucagon for no reason. What app is this? It's called Xtrip. Xtrip Plus. This interfaces with the Dexcom G7. G6? I think I have G6. And then the other program is AAPS, so the Android Auto Pancreas System. This is a closed loop between my sensor and my Omnipod and this app, this app that controls. So I start from the very beginning. I have type 1 diabetes. Type 1 diabetes means that my pancreas is not producing insulin. Insulin is the mechanism by which your body turns sugars in the bloodstream into fat. It basically turns carbs into fat. That doesn't work on me, so I have to inject insulin. There's much more to it than this. I'm grossly oversimplifying. But the point is, I have a device that tells me what my glucose level is when it's below this number. This is unfortunately pegging the one side of the dial. I'm not supposed to have this much sugar in my blood. And this is like a weird outlier that's going on. Weird, terrible outlier. I don't know why my glucose... This is like super dangerous. I have injected like a horse amount of insulin into my body. And so all that insulin is hopefully going to peak in the next couple minutes, and maybe we'll see a crash. I don't know why there's so much sugar in my blood, because the equivalent amount of carbohydrate that I drank in coffee does not explain that jump. I don't know what the hell's going on. A little bit of dawn phenomenon gone awry, maybe. But so these two applications, the Xtrip is there to receive and record things that are going on. AAPS is the Android Auto Pancreas System. It's a weird program, but it allows me to get very aggressive with my diabetes control. I have a couple extra pounds on me. And by that, I mean I'm probably like double what I should weigh. 18 and 18. Okay, so it's not double, but I really could use to lose like an entire person's worth of weight on my body. I'm gonna start working on that problem in the next couple weeks. But in the meantime, it means I need a lot more insulin because my body resists it. External insulin, the stuff you're not making, your body doesn't really respond to all that well. And then on top of that, I have all this extra mass. So looks like you're not wearing pants. Who's to say that I am? Who's to say that I am wearing pants? Aside from the seam that you see from my pocket. That's not just a vein. I'm not a veiny person. Oh my God, I've got a skin worm. Oh, something's under my skin. Oh my God, it's an alien. Okay, anyway. No, I'm way whiter than this. Look at that. Yeah, those are khaki pants. Anyway, so the pump and the phone thing and the sensor allow me to not think about diabetes with every waking minute of my life. They also allow me to put executives on permanent vacation. I'm able to do that with all of the money that I've given them over the course of 31 years of having diabetes. It's almost gonna be, it's gonna be 32 soon. We got like a month, and then it'll be 32 years of diabetes. So I'm hanging in there. My control has not always been amazing. It's not amazing right now. It's good, but it's not amazing. And I need to address my weight because my weight is costing me literal money because of the insulin resistance. So there we are. Anyway, streaming on Twitch. Try to keep it up and up. Try to keep nice light mood to my stream. People always want to know, like, what do you do for a living? How do you do this? Why are you streaming? How do I get to be a streamer? Is basically what the question is, and it's like, dude, I don't know how to answer that for you. I am not a successful streamer. I don't make money off of Twitch. I will die under certain circumstances with Twitch. It's not helping me that much. And it's like, how do I respond to that without being super rude to them? Because it's like, dude, that's just a rude question. It's not something that I want to answer. And I know you're not asking it from a place of rudeness, but people come in and they ask this question as like their first chat. I get it a lot. You lost 10 kilograms since August 6th. I guess just the act of going in and out of the office kind of keeps you from if you're in an office, I don't know what your work is. I don't care why you're streaming, it's just nice that you are. Thank you. I'm debating about this creators program for Fusion 360. Oh, you're welding, okay. I mean, that's not, yeah, you're definitely moving around, and yeah, that's cool, man. I'm glad you're able to lose a little bit of weight. If you're trying to lose weight. If you're not trying to lose weight, I'm that sucks. Funny how a random change of lifestyle, that's a major change in lifestyle. I mean, that's getting up and moving around and you know, getting yourself into a place of work where you can concentrate and not think about eating or whatever else, you know, it's gonna revive. Americans are preoccupied with class for sure. What do you do for a living? It's so crazy because it's like the only conversation that you have at like cocktail parties. Oh, so what are you doing for a living? It's like, geez, dude, what am I doing to live? How am I living? Hey, man, how you living? But yeah, a lot of work done on this in order to figure out how to work with it. A lot of the Blender work helped me close off the solid and make it a proper shell, and that allows me to get it into Fusion as a body. It's just a conversion between the two. All I did was use the combining tool. I went with this shell. You can see how it's ever subtly just a little bit different looking. And then I used this combine tool, and then it created its own body around the mesh. When I was combining the posts, the simple posts that I included in order to staple this thing together. You can see this one doesn't have any posts on it, but when I converted it into a body, that one has these circular posts. The hard part was getting the post to combine into the body. I had to look from the top and extrude it to the point where it didn't clip, and then once it combined, I took the solid that was left over where it didn't like overlap, and I extruded that a little bit into the shell. It was a little bit of a clunky process, so there's probably a better way to do it, but I am just learning. I'm not perfect. I'm not a tutorial. I'm an adventure we all get to have together. And then this completely unobtainable car, this amazing resto mod. How much do those cost? Hi. Really? Oh, it's getting forceful, this Windows update. This Windows update is not taking no for an answer. Why don't you remind me tomorrow? Forceful little bitch. Get out of my house, Bill Gates. Let me see here. I forgot what I was going to do. I want to see what the price of the Lancia 37 Resto mod is. Whoa, caps lock. Look at that thing. What a car. Holy shit. The only two in the States. 540,000, 415,000. Oh my God, euro. And there's two of them in the States. Yeah, I know. It's like, why do we pine for things like this? The Chimera Evo 37. I would love to find like one of these bodies all rusted out in a farm somewhere and just take it home and do my worst to it and create something wholly interesting and unique out of that. But that's not going to happen. Have you heard the good news of Linux? No. Are you kind of that guy? I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. I've been doing some amazing stuff with this toy. I mean, this thing is fast. This thing is insanely fast too. Yeah, the only way that I could do like proper car content, because I like working on crap cars. Do magic on a rusty car? Yeah, I can do that. I'd have to learn welding a little bit better for the rusty car thing, but in terms of making crap actually run on the road, I'm very good at that. I've been doing that for a long time. As we literally did a car rally that took place over 5 days from Staten Island, New York to Bourbon Street, New Orleans in cars that cost less than $250. And we've done this several times to great success. My friends won, and then the friend who won got a second place the following year because he was so into the actual event, and I was just into keeping crap cars running on the road, because it was sort of like a group effort for us to get all these absolute trash cars all the way down to New Orleans. Yeah, I would love to do a project similar to what I'm doing with the RC car, less 3D printing and modeling and more cutting out brackets and stuff, and actually put like an electric drivetrain into something something weird and iconic, like a Corrado maybe. Corrado's a little bit too round for me. I want something that's angular, which is, again, why I was so into this particular model that I found. What is this thing? It's a Lancia Monte Carlo. I haven't heard of that before, and I look it up, and I'm like, oh, it's iconic, and I should have known about it all along. I'm one of the weird car guys. I like to keep, like, weird cars running for a long time, but I don't know, I lack in terms of, like, oh, this model year they changed the fender a little bit, or, oh, this is an iconic Italian sports car. It's like, I don't know Italian sports cars because we don't have them here. Like, some do. I had a good friend of mine, he's long since passed, he's a very old man. He worked on Alfa Romeos in a dirt floor garage with a pit, and that was eye-opening. That was really cool to see, because he'd show up in like a busted old Alfa, and apparently he had some museum quality cars at his house. It was crazy. They had like a chicken coop that you had to drive the Alfa by on a grass road to get to the garage. It was awesome. I don't know what he did for a living. He made a lot of money though doing it. I probably could make this lift up a little bit. This front piece, it should probably lift up a little bit to kind of meet the front of the body. It's going to stick out the bottom and look a little funky. But right now, what I'm really vetting out is the FDM printer, the Goop printer, to make sure that it works properly. In a lot of these little 1/24 cars, you have a lot of, like, the electronics would be huge. And I actually made a little crossbeam that holds all the electronics. This is all DOS Micro stuff, and DOS Micro makes very small RC car electronics. These are kind of minimal boards that have a decent amount of functionality to them. And so I was able to super miniaturize the electronics on this thing, bring everything down, bring that center of gravity down, and depending on what motor you use, because remember, these 1/24 RC cars, we're not pushing an envelope in any way with these things. I mean, we are, but we're not pushing like, if only I could get more power into this thing. No. Those electric motors, the 3-phase electric motors, are too much for these. So you get a motor that kind of matches the grip ability of the car, and you tune within that and get good at actually driving. It's kind of crazy. So I had a max speed motor on this thing, and it would throw the wheels off, because the rubber of the wheels would pull away after expanding and fling off to the side. So doing the driveway bombing with this thing is not exactly what you should do with a 1/24. If you want to go fast, you can get a bigger frame and go like 100 miles an hour, and then when it crashes, it just compacts itself and all the parts go everywhere, and you have to buy another $100 of parts. What's up, Weaselbox? Oh wait, no, you were talking to me. What's up, Niano Cat? Jeez, I'm dumb. First name that I see. Do magic on a rusty car, but we had a spare gasket in the trunk. One of our, one thing that happened when, wait, why is there a position in here? I'm not going to save this when I close it. One thing that we did do with the crappy car stuff is my friends did a 24 hours of lemons. And the most prestigious award there, according to people like me, is the mechanic award. It's the one that's that's awarded to the team with the most ingenuity. And this car was a Wartburg. I don't know if you know what a Wartburg is. I didn't, but we discovered all kinds of things about the Wartburg in the course of getting it roadworthy. That the Porsche 944 sway bar that I had from my Porsche 944 fit the Wartburg. Why? How? How does that work? A Subaru motor can fit in the back if you're good enough at mounting things. And then he used like the bar from a coat hanger that you would put in a closet as a coolant line from the front to the back, because he had a radiator in front and the Subaru motor in the back. So we had a Subaru motor. Subaru motors are not easy to work on. They put a lot of stuff on top of that Subaru motor, but it is a boxer, so the cylinders are horizontally going outwards, like a VW Bug. Putting a gasket on that cylinder is a mess. Because not only are you cramped in the side of the motor, we had a little bit of extra access space because that engine bay or trunk, as it were, had a little bit of room around it. So we were able to actually get to everything. We had to do a gasket change. We found a team that just happened to have a gasket. They happened to have a gasket. They're like, oh yeah, we got a Subaru gasket here. Like, okay, random gasket, cool. We were just casually walking around the paddock, you know, talking to people, getting parts, and figuring out what we're going to do between the heats of the Lemons races. And the judges come over to come berate us and figure out, you know, what is this team doing? What are they all about? And we were just so casual about having our engine completely splayed out on a blanket in front of us. And we were just sitting there, you know, having a beer, like, oh yeah, you know, we're going to get this together. And so the eventual sort of progress of it was me holding the manual. They had the engineer holding the manual, looking up the torque specs on the different bolts around the head and getting them into the, because you have to do stretch bolts. And so for stretch bolts, you get them tight and then you take them a little bit extra so the metal stretches. And so when the car heats up and cools down, that stretch bolt retains pressure on the gasket. But you have to make sure that you press down your gasket properly and evenly. So we had to jump, and it wasn't just a star pattern. It was this weird pattern that you had to take around the engine. And so I had to read off the instructions while the military mechanic friend of mine went through and torqued them just very specifically. And so we ended up getting the like pristine engineering award just because we were so casual about this like major engine procedure that we were undergoing. It was very fun. We had a good time. There's some ancient articles that were written about that. I don't know if they're available anymore given the way the internet works nowadays. Those are supposed to be straight up and down. Those are definitely not. We are going to be doing soldering today, though. This has just been my side project to keep my sanity while we do this module testing module. Variety is indeed the spice of life, and this thing has just kept me semi-sane, apart from the little hiccups going on there. What the hell happened? This is from not tightening down the bed, so the bed shifted outwards. The other ones that I showed earlier were the front not sticking and then the rear not sticking, and I think the problem with that is the leveling of the bed. So what I need to do is I need to get the reservoir out of the printer, put a piece of paper down, lower down to 0, and then loosen the bolts that hold the bed on so that it sits on that piece of paper, and then tighten it all up again. Right now it's all in the ultrasonic cleaner, getting all the epoxy off of it, so I can do that procedure later today. I really want my glucose level to go down. I can just feel it in my bones. The hyperglycemia. I should like go jogging or something. Yeah, the ultrasonic cleaner I haven't had many uses for, but it's very good at getting UV epoxy goop off of your prints. And you know, if I did some car work, I'd probably use it for cleaning those off too. But I was real careful about the ultrasonic cleaner at first. You know, I'd put the print in a plastic bag and put the plastic bag in water, and it would have alcohol, you know, to clean off the print. Now I just dump the alcohol into the bed and just use it. Yeah, it's really good at cleaning off circuit boards, I hear. I have some simple green that I can use for that, but I haven't had dirty boards. My boards have not been very dirty lately. But I guess if I want to return something and I've used a lot of flux, I could use the bath to clean everything off. This is such an expensive little toy. and I put so much work into it. I think it'll be cool if all the lights light up and stuff, but you know, you can see the 3D model and this thing are matching up pretty good. I do have these parts and these parts in CAD, and I wanted to get more of a comprehensive 3D model, but like, these are cursed. These are cursed. There's like layers of chamfer and fillets. Layer upon layer of chamfer over fillet over chamfer. Yeah, I've got this in a kit form, and it's a lot of very small fasteners. I didn't expect it to be anything too challenging because we work on electronics here, right? Like, I'm not unfamiliar with this soldering this kind of stuff. It's not that scary to me. But when it came to building this thing and getting it tuned, getting all the suspension stuff right, it has kind of been a beast. And actually, I'm kind of sad that I bought this part. I bought an aluminum arm here. I should have kept it plastic because I can now print stuff this small and keep it accurate with the FDM printer. I can print stuff like this and then use it in the model. But yeah, this is the Atom SZ2. I was thinking about whether or not I could print like a helical gear that would go here and make it quiet. Do like one of those double helical gears so it doesn't press in a particular direction, and then it would be like super quiet. It's got a center diff too, and I have no idea how to tune it. But yeah, so this is a 10-channel radio. So this thing will be powering all of my lights and stuff as well. I'll have to see what this thing is capable of. This is a gyroscope. It's a gyro that does steering correction. Very necessary when you have something that goes this fast. And then this is the three-phase motor controller. So this stuff we're familiar with, but when it came to building this thing, there was all kinds of little adjustments and stuff that had to be done in order to get it to properly work. And then I got a little video of me driving it directly into a curb where it broke. Of course, that's how it goes. But now I want to put like a proper body on it so that it can break up like a Nokia phone when it hits a curb. When it hits a curb, the body will pop off, all that energy will dissipate, and maybe it'll save some parts of the model. like when there's a tiny pebble on the road and this thing hits it and just goes psycho. These are good for indoors, and that's why I got this, was for the pandemic. We were all locked up inside, and I said, hey, it would be fun to drift one of these things. And actually what the Mario Kart Home Circus is what we were going to modify. I could probably still set up something to hyper cheat at Mario Kart Home Circuit, but yeah, we wanted to make like a Mario Kart Home Circuit mod, and I didn't get around to it. It was too much work, but this is fun. Still having fun with this stuff. I'm gonna put this aside. That was just an update on what I was working on the side to let you guys know that I have not just been sitting behind a computer screen with my mind a complete blank. I've done a little bit of that, but not that much. All right. Enough about LA. Jeez. La 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 la. Hi. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to my stream. It's O'Bother. Hey, how you doing? I haven't been on for a little bit. You know, the normal weekend break. I'm hoping to do a full week of streaming this week. I haven't made much progress with this module tester module, so I really kind of want to hammer home and get this thing done. Hello World it's a good entrance for a wonky robot. I really want to get this thing done. Over the weekend, I've been working on a little bit of 3D printing, a little bit of 3D modeling. Possibly I should email those guys about the creator program for Fusion 360. I don't know how long that's going to be around, but maybe it'll be a stepping stone into my free version of Fusion 360, because I certainly don't have the credentials for the educational one anymore. It's unfortunate. Anyway, that's beside the point. That's just stuff I've been thinking about and considering and working on. Aside from, you know, giving the dog constant walks, we had to do the emergency vet thing over the weekend. She got huge crusty eyeball stuff going on, and it's just a bacteriological infection of some kind. We got to give the little puppy eye drops, which is sort of eroding the amount of trust that I've built with the dog. Putting her in a headlock and getting her to open her eye long enough for me to get a drop in there, and then just the very second before the drop falls from the thing, she goes, and then it hits her eyelash, or it hits her eyelid as it is meant to, and blocks her from the healing medication that I'm trying to drip into her eyes. Yeah, so she'll be fine. She's already looking pretty up. But yeah, my weekend has been a series of that kind of stuff. Anyway, I'm here for this week. And we're going to work on this module tester module, and we're going to take baby steps. That's been the name of the game this entire time. My buddy Dave has a broken M303. It's an acid house. If you've heard it, you've heard it. You know what a 303 sounds like. You'll never stop hearing it in music. It's a staple. It is the way you get all those wee, 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 the high-pitched, like, squealy stuff in sort of your more hardcore dance tracks, hardcore house, your acid house, if you will. And so Dave's M303 has an amazing capability, and that is to be plugged in completely wrong. You can plug this thing in the power to the back of the module. You can plug in completely wrong into your modular synthesizer. Eurorack is one system for modular synthesizers. Synthesizers make wibbling waves using voltage signals. A modular synthesizer allows you to use a bunch of different products from different places and hook them all up without blowing everything up. This module violates that principle because it's so easy to plug in backwards to power, but the power is a back panel thing. Everything you can plug into the front panel is compatible with everything. If you want to use a low frequency oscillator as a 1 volt per octave signal, go ahead. You can do that with modular synthesizers. You're not going to harm anything. It's a walled garden of capability. So the M303 is one of those pieces of capability, and however you configure it, do whatever you want. Do whatever you want. You can just throw stuff together. Yeah, if you want to listen to a 303 track, there's one right there. They're easy to find. So in the pursuit of modular synthesis, Dave plugged power into this module wrong. This module does not have all the protections that are typical of modular synthesizers. So when you plug it in wrong, it breaks. And it broke, and we didn't have a lot of information about it. We have a schematic, a working schematic, which is just like it's a hookup diagram is what a schematic is. You have all your components, they're hooked up a particular way, and you use the hieroglyphics of a schematic in order to communicate that to other engineers. We have one of these from the TB303, not the M303. The M303 is a particular company that's decided to make a 303 or as close as they can for modular synthesizers. They're not interested in putting their plans out for everybody. The Roland TB303 is a world famous piece of musical equipment. They're still expensive. You can still buy them, but they're not making them anymore, and they have all of the plans online. You can see the schematic. It's not that, seeing the schematic is not what's going to... Well, Roland's not making money off of it anymore, so they don't care. Not to mention the fact that, I could build one out of parts. It still wouldn't be the same thing. Some of these parts are just not available. So we have a working document that sort of describes how this thing should work, but we don't have an exact schematic. And so I started waffling around with ways to test it, get this together, test the voltages here, replace these parts, figure out what some of the parts that they were trying to keep a secret were. Turns out they're not trying to keep it too much of a secret. You can still find what those parts are if you're tenacious enough, and you can get really down to the nitty-gritty. They don't respond to emails about that kind of stuff, though, because I know I emailed them about it. They didn't respond. So, yeah, we've made a lot of progress on this thing, but it still's not coming together. And it turns out I kept trying to fix stuff and return the module to Dave, and Dave would plug it into his setup and go, no, it doesn't work, and then give it back to me, which is really frustrating. And it's sort of highlighted the fact that I don't have something to test these modules with. I've built a pretty comprehensive modular synthesizer over here. It's not going to be super capable, but it should be able to do stuff. But I don't know what it's capable of doing, and I haven't properly tuned some of the analog modules in it. So I need a tool that's going to help me do all of that without having to put together this big weird setup and then, not do the right thing and oh, maybe this is doing this a little bit wrong because from an engineering perspective, this is this way. I need something that works like a modular synthesizer and tests modular synthesizers, especially if I'm going to be doing a lot of this stuff. I know Julian and Dave have been coming up with stuff. They're like, I'm the ideas guy. I'm going to come up with ideas and shovel all of this workload onto you, the guy who can build stuff. I'm not going to let them do that, but it's like they've been talking in that direction. And if I'm going to help them with anything, I need the capability to test these modules. Now I could spend $200 and I could have a module tester, but it might not do exactly the stuff that I want it to do. So we're taking a little bit more of a modern perspective on this thing, because the Emily Gillette module tester is not quite as capable as we're able to be. So what we're able to do is test more channels and get, you know, more information about the synthesizer using modern microcontrollers, right? So we've been working at this thing, and things have been a little slow. This very simple circuit that I've got that's supposed to make the LEDs work, not a lot is involved in that, but it took me a shitload of time to put this thing together for some reason. And what are we going to do today? Well, today we're going to rip it all out. We're just going to rip it all out. I'm going to rip this whole circuit out. I figure, you know, I tried to kind of go to through-hole stuff and spread the circuit out and make sure it's nice and easy to follow. That's not really working out for me. We're going to go to surface mount now. I'm going to put in surface mount op amps. We're going to work directly on the surface. It'll be easier for me to visualize and put together, just because that's how my brain works. That's how brain work. That's just how I function, is by doing things that way. Why is it not working? It's the death by 1,000 cuts of trying a new technique. Death by 1,000 cuts, trying a new technique. I wanted to use through-hole, but in doing so, I limited the amount of circuit that I could put on this top layer here. And then this is on this side, this is on this side, and it kind of messes with the way that I like to put circuits together. And I tried to do what I did with the power supply and make it big and bold and easy to follow. And it turns out the limitations are just getting in my way. So I think if I break it all apart and we build it back up in the way that I'm used to, I think it'll be a little bit better to work with. And we've already shed blood, sweat, and tears. I cut myself pretty horribly on one of the these little standoff things. I'm just sick of it. I'm not working with it anymore. We're going back to surface mount. That's what I'm used to. It just means if something blows up, it'll be a little bit harder to fix. Oh, geez. Did I just... Yeah, I just fucking wang-jangled those things. Let's use tweezers to get these out. So I got to recollect all of my tools that I was using. Get those into logical places so that I can find them at a moment's notice. L.A., L.A., L.L.A. The song is stuck in my head now. I've heard that mix a lot. And I haven't worked on this in the interim. I said I would. I didn't have it in me to hunch over a bench this weekend. I'll probably have it in me in the near future to hunch over a bench all weekend. One thing that I do want to do, having 3D printed a little bit more, is I want to get... You're the captain of the ship. Not a lot of people understand that. And they kind of come in and they say, "Bother, why don't you ever get projects done?" And then they leave. They don't even stick around for the answer. What is a good brand of solder braid? I use Chemwick. Sorry, this is Chemtronics. Solderwick, Chemwick, either of those. This stuff is the good stuff, and this is all that I buy. You find a brand that works for you nice, you don't use anything else. Especially things like Solderwick, if you go to other producers, they will either not put flux in there, or they'll put less flux, or they'll put different flux. I pretty much love my Chemtronics for this stuff. This is what we used at the government jobs that I've had, and it's good stuff. It works with the iron that I have. I have a lot of wattage in my iron too, so that kind of helps this out. This stuff is expensive. I'm patient. I enjoy cheering people on in projects. I appreciate that. But they're not wrong. The people telling me that, like, where the fuck are all the completed projects, you idiot? Like, they're not wrong, because I don't have a boss. You know, Daddy Twitch doesn't really understand what electronics are and how difficult it is to put together a project. And Daddy Twitch wants to see completed stuff in order for popularity. So the more that I waffle, the more that I get into all the cerebral stuff, the less viewership I have. And I appreciate you guys that stick around with that stuff, but I need to cater to the audience a little bit more. I need to do some more one-off kind of projects. Maybe in order to adhere my Fusion 360 license, we can do some more one-off kind of stuff. Yeah, we're a family here in this business, which means that you're fully exploitable. All right, let's start pulling stuff out. Let's see. I'm gonna need tweezers. Please, Todd, no. Let's see here. Where are them tweezers? This is too much of a mess for too long, and I'm starting to lose track of it. I do need to keep this neat so that I can find where all the stuff is. Now, I'm still going to use the big potentiometers on this because it'll need to be tuned. How are you today? What is happening? We are still working on the same project. I am extremely hyperglycemic right now. I don't know what the fuck happened in the 2 hours it took for me to recalibrate my glucose sensor, but in that time, my glucose level decided to go absolutely fucking ballistic on me. Even though I walked the dog, I got plenty of sleep, I should have been in good shape, but for some reason, from normal glucose levels, 2 hours pass, and now I'm pegging the pegging the dial, so to speak. I'm not fucking the dial. It just means the dial's hit the peg. It's not being pegged. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm imagining either in my mind. In my mind's eye, I'm not imagining fucking the dial. That's not what I said. That's not what I said. But anyway, so right now my glucose level's somewhere above 400, which is really bad. It's really bad. Some people can be sent to the hospital for that. I'll be fine. I have injected like an absolute shitload of insulin into my body, and we're waiting for that to peak. But it's very disappointing that things would get dire like that over such a short period of time. You know, I had no idea that my glucose sensor would be up in the middle of the morning, but why would... There's no reason for... Like, I had 2 cups of coffee with a splash of creamer in each one. That shouldn't be a 400 glucose level event. A glucose level event. I mean, I was gonna catch it because the glucose sensor would eventually start running again. If I had problems with the glucose sensor, that could have been really dangerous. That shouldn't cause that kind. Yeah, and I took the dog for a walk. Like, I wasn't inactive. So I think my liver just had a lot to say about it. I've been working on the Lancia 37 car body, the low poly Lancia 037, just because we found a low poly model that looks really cool. I've been having a little bit of trouble 3D printing it. It kind of got its lean on, but I found these magnetic connectors. So I've got 6 pins, 3 in the front, 3 in the back, 1 in the front, and 2 in the back. No, but yeah, 3-pin connectors. So I have all the connectors I would need to do headlights, brights, right turn signal, left turn signal, brake lights. So I could be able to put the flashers on the car. I think that's hilarious. But what it'll do is it'll basically lock in from the rear like this. So it'll click on. The shell doesn't quite fit. That's why I'm having trouble with it. And then lock onto the front like that. And hopefully that's enough so that it doesn't fly off in the middle of driving. But yeah, it's been a whole comprehensive Fusion 360 and Blender. Blender helps me edit the individual polygons. And yeah, the Sharpie, you can tell it's Sharpie because it's got that Sharpie redness to it. We were having this discussion. Black is not a color, it's a shade. And so this is a red black because you can see the red in the reflection there. So I was just playing around. I just wanted to have a little bit more familiarity with what the car body would look like. This is a Lancia 037, and I just took a little Sharpie to it for fun. But this is because the print bed wasn't screwed in all the way, so it started to shift. I found it really interesting that you can create a car body for an RC car using a 3D printer. Yeah, the Goop printer is better at that because of its ability to do details. And then you can use Fusion 360, Blender, whatever, to hollow out the car. So you can get a model of a car from like a racing game, and as you take it and stitch up all of the different, because like in gaming, your polygons will just be like colliding with one another. It's not a clean model. For engineering, you want a clean model that's a complete shell. And so you've got to go in and fix stuff individually and use the CAD programs to help you do that. And once you get it all figured out, you can then put internal structures into your car body that'll help you do things like have magnets hold it together. This is the previous project. This is the $200 Atom SZ2 1/24th scale RC car body with an Amazon 3-phase motor, DOS Microelectronics. It's just some battery that I found on Amazon, and a pretty nice servo on it. And then the wheels and tires I had to get from like RC car places. These are very rubbly tires, and they will fly off with the amount of power that the motor puts in. But once I get a car body on it, then I can race it around, and if it crashes, hopefully it does the Nokia cell phone thing and just breaks up. Indicator lights, so it'll never have a BMW body. RL and a BMW logo. That's a BMW logo. You can see that there's right turn and there's left-hand turn. Just want you to know that that exists. Yeah, so anyway, this has been fun. I've been a big man baby, and I've been putting this thing together in CAD and printing it out over the weekend. But anyway, we're back here. It's probably from a Mini. That's still a BMW these days. So what we're going to do is we're going to rip out the through-hole stuff, and we're going to use surface mount because I am way more familiar with surface mount, even on proto board. And hopefully we can get this together so that we get a little bit more progress today. Because this circuit should not take that long. It's a fairly simple circuit, but we got to remove all the stuff. So let's get to soldering, and let's get to picking stuff out with tweezers. We're going to pick stuff with tweezers. It's not the first time. We'll just have a partially rainy day. It's a very cloudy day today. But I'm going to work smarter. No. I'm going to work faster, better, and dumber. We're just going to do this the dumb way and do surface mount on through hole. So I'm going to get to work. I'm a pick and tweeze machine. That's right. I pick my nose and then I tweeze the electronics. We absolutely are ripping out all of this because it's so gross. It's just gross. And then we'll rebuild it in slightly betterlier fashion. These will be a little bit more intuitive when I rebuild it all on one surface. I gotta be careful not to lift the pads, so let's see if we can get through this quickly. I won't necessarily go over the technique. Mostly the technique is just get it to melt and then pick it away. Oh, come on. Don't tell me the first one is gonna fight me. What is that? Oh, that's part of the wire that's sticking through. Yeah, maybe we just clip it off. That'd be easier. Actually, I don't know if I can get down to these to clip them. Let me get the sockets out of the way, then I don't have to worry about melting them. Maybe that's how I do it. And for that, I'm going to put on the big tip. Then we're just going to start ripping up. Grip it and rip it. Grip. Put that back so I don't hurt myself. Got a hot soldering iron tip sitting on this thing. These are just 1/4-inch fuse holders, by the way. The 1/4-inch fuse holders work with the Pace ADS soldering iron tips, and they hold them pretty nicely. So I've just got this thing that holds all of my iron tips. I wanted to make it so that I could place the iron tip in and then pull it away. Like if I press down, it'll clip in, and then if I pull, it'll grip on that and then pull out the iron tip. But I've yet to figure out how that would work. Maybe a little pincher arm that's a little bit more stout would do it. And then I'd need more force in order to pick it away. Now this is the big iron tip. This is when you're not asking, you're telling the circuit board that it has to go. I don't remember asking. I have a giant tip. So yeah, we can pretty quickly rework this, turn it back to where it was, and then I need to get out the Captain tape because we're going to be putting surface mount chips down on the board, and then we work around those surface mount chips, and everything should make a lot more sense. We don't need big wires on this because it's not dealing with a lot of current. Almost sexual, Smithers. All right, Asmer, desoldering, and chill stream. That joke popped into my head from last stream where it was you know, why not talk to a couple sponsors? The worst they can say is no. Sponsors. Ew. It popped into my head. Made me laugh again. All right, those are freed up. I can get all these little wispy hairs out of here. This just will make it easier to pull from the other end. If I don't have the full thing. Yeah. Wait, I thought I cut you. Did I not cut you? Oh, there we go. Yeah, cutting the lines to the other side makes it so that they're more easy to pull through, and you don't have your solder cooling down and suddenly grabbing the via and then pulling a pad off when you least suspect it. So I remove all of these little wispy things, and then I can come in from the other side, heat it up with a big iron so that more of it gets molten at once, and then pick off what's left. But first we want to get out the sockets. The 8-pin sockets should go. They're too big and sloppy, and they kind of limit the circuit building that I can accomplish in the area. Ultimately, these techniques are all obsolete. You know, learning how to rework a circuit board and not a perforated prototyping board is more of the level that people should be going in these days, because it costs $5 to make a circuit board. It's ridiculous. Well, that's the other one that always gets stuck in my head when I'm doing stuff like this. When I take the big iron tip out and I start talking about my big iron, with the big iron on his hip, big iron on his hip. Riding 3 white horses in the town. Ah. Hey, what's up, Gonad? I'm having one of those bother moments where my eye twitches and I decide to do a lot of work instead of a little work. It takes time to get a PCB made, but it's so much more organized than doing this. This has taken me weeks, and we haven't gotten anywhere with it. If I were designing these circuit boards, I would spend a lot of my time, let's be honest, in Fusion, scratching my head and being very angry at the parts models that I've imported. But once I import those parts models, you know, the holes would all be in the right places. I would do all the circuit stuff very easily, and then I'd be able to spin off a circuit board. But yeah. By the time it's arrived, I could have done 4 more projects on strip boards. Not with my current workload. I've gotten a little burnouty, and I'm trying to fight the burnoutiness with the RC car build. I don't know if you saw this earlier, Gonad. I've got the Lancia 37 car body, and it's looking pretty sharp. The only problem is my goop printer kind of it got its lean on, so to speak. So I've been trying to reprint it, but I've been having more and more goop printer fiascos. I was able to model a magnetic 6-pin connector for the front and the back. 1 in the front, 2 in the back. It's getting magnet booty. I don't know how to act. Anyway, so the body's going to magnet on with its own little connectors, and I'll be able to do all kinds of lights and stuff. So down the line, I want to break out the glass so that I can have a separate piece printed in glass. That way I'll be able to see in and see the LEDs on the modules, and then do headlights and indicator lights and stuff in clear so that I can put LEDs behind it all. Does Fusion do PCB layout? They bought Eagle, and Eagle was the PCB layout software for makers. It was like cheap enough that you could get a good version of it, or just use the free version of Eagle, and you could do a lot of really good circuit work. And so it was built up, and then Autodesk bought it, and they made it part of Fusion 360. So what I'm able to do is design PCBs with 3-dimensional parts and pull them into the mechanical drawing and make enclosures around them using this sort of AutoCAD method of extrusion. Now, you can do this with other softwares. But I like Fusion. I've been using Fusion for a long time. I got my educational version of Fusion. Now they require that you have some kind of educational credentials that you send to them. They must have spoken with a team of lawyers, and so I am getting sort of nudged out. I just don't have the educational credentials as of recently, so I will have to go down to either the free version, or they have a creators program, and they conveniently emailed me about this just before my version started warning me that it was going to expire. Yeah, more hoops to jump through. Blender is what I used in order to make the body and clean up all the polygons on the body, because Blender has sort of that low-level functionality of being able to edit this stuff. If you know Blender, you can make Blender do a lot of this stuff. But when I do this kind of stuff, I am wholly concerned with numbers. And so numbers and layouts and stuff, it just works better for me to have a program where I can put the numbers in, and then I can extrude from there and do a couple minimal chamfers and have, you know, my exact electronics. But it's been coming together pretty nicely, to be honest. My printer kind of fought me over the past couple ones. I've got a new one of these coming in, and it'll have a little bit more clearance for the wheel well. It's going to sit about where it, you know, where it was or just then. Here, I mean, I guess the Lancia 37 isn't really set up for rally, so having a smaller wheel well is fine. But for this car, I need a lot of that suspension travel. But yeah, this will be kind of cool. It'll look like a Lancia 37, a car that I'll never own. The Resto mod, and I'll have little lights inside of it. Maybe if I show Lancia this project, or whoever's doing the Resto mod, they'll be like, oh, that's amazing. Here, have a whole car. Yeah, that's going to happen. That's exactly how it's going to go down. I just got the CR10s up and running again. The CR10 is a bit of a nightmare when it comes to that kind of stuff, but once you get it tuned in, not much can go wrong. It's a very simple setup. This thing looks like it's all messed up. I don't know what it is about these 3D models, but when I start working on them, it's all good and great and everybody's happy. And then as I work through it, all of those little tolerances start getting in the way, and then I end up getting very mad at the model and, you know, wanting to redo stuff. I think it may be just that I'm not adhering to tolerances properly. So the way we do these is by putting light, very, very light pressure on the chip holder in order to separate it from the FR4. We got to be careful about that, because that was a little bit more rough than I wanted it to be. Sometimes you can just rely, gravity isn't going to really help because the surface tension of solder is very high, and it'll kind of grab onto stuff with surface tension. But if you put just a little bit of force on this, very small amount, and you make sure to get those pins hot, you want to make sure that you're not just pulling on one layer of pad, basically. These are circular pads with plated through vias. So the metal goes through the circuit board to the next pad. And those plated through vias, they can sometimes be held on okay, but usually they are fairly weak. So if you're just pulling on the center shell, you can pull out the entire center shell. And if you're just pulling on the pad, you can remove the pad, especially if you're using a big soldering iron that gets very hot. It's very, very easy to pull the pad off of the other end. So what I do, I put a tool in there, I put light pressure. So basically I'm leaning it up against this part of my hand while, you know, sort of flicking the board upwards. That's sort of what this configuration is. I'm keeping my hands away from the heat, and I'm noting that the 4 pins are here and here, and I go one side and then the other, and the chip starts to kind of walk itself out. Can't quite get all of them at the same time, but still. Well, that's where the UV printer comes in handy. The car bodies, although they are big, and you know, you don't think there's a lot of detail in a car body, but there really is. There really is a lot of detail in a car body, and so 3D printing them, I did okay with the filament machine, but the thing that's really good at printing car bodies is the UV printer, because it can do very tiny details and it can do very thin walls. And depending on what the material is, those thin walls are actually fine. And I also, if it gets really brittle, I don't mind if it explodes when I crash into something. I don't mind if it explodes when I crash into something. That's fun. But you got to find the car body, and then you have to, I had to work on it in terms of polygonal structure to have an inner structure in order to seal it off. And that required a lot of fiddling. And we could probably do another car body for that thing, and I could show you guys the whole process. That's a nice, easy project that I can show off Fusion 360 with and the capabilities of. And maybe we'll involve Blender in it too. Probably will have to. But 3D printing that with filament is not impossible. I've done it before. It just, you lose a lot of the detail to the layers. You can sand it down and do all that kind of stuff, but then you need to have all the structure and blah, 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 blah. The resin printing is so good at making stuff like that it just took to it immediately. And that's partially why I got the resin printer. I found out that you can get a resin printer for 1/3 of the cost if it's broken. And the idea is that you would buy 2 and repair 1 to fully working. But the one that we got was fine. It's like herding cats trying to seal 3D models. I had a lot of trouble, but the low poly helped, and learning how to do it. Now that I know how to do it, I think I'm in a much better shape now. All right, so we got all the sockets off of there. Those didn't put up too much of a fight. They put up a little bit of a fight, but I think I managed to save all the pads. Yeah, that's the old school way. The new school way is to put it through, there are programs and plugins that you can use in order to help with the mesh. What I could have also done is taken Fusion's quads and just traced over the STL. I could have taken quads and just made them fit near enough as makes no difference, and then mirror the thing in quads, and then I would have had a low complexity but matching body. I mean, if you look at the, we've looked at this before, but was it Honda? The Honda City? Somewhere, yeah, this thing. Somewhere in the media for this thing, they show them working on it, and they're using a specific AutoCAD suite for designing cars, and it's done in quads, which is pretty cool. I would have loved to make this the car body because it's dinky and hilarious, and then put one of those little OLED screens in the front, because this thing has a little screen in the front. We could have made it look like the Honda City. And then maybe car companies would come to me like, hey, you want to do this for like a trade show? I'd be like, yeah, I'll do that for a trade show if you give me your car. And they're like, sure, we were going to give you a free car anyway. I'm like, yeah, that's how the world works. That's how I know the world works. I'm not delusional. You're delusional, I say in my imaginary scenario. And everybody nods. Everyone's nodding all the time. This is the Engineer SO2 solder sucker. I guess SS is for solder sucker, huh? That sort of solves what the part naming is. And then the alarm went off and I woke up. Yes. And then I was running and I tripped and fell while I was running, and I startled awake and I was sitting in front of my computer. And it was 5 a.m. and I went, shit, and went up to bed. As they toss you the keys. They got plenty of cars. You know, these manufacturers, they got a lot of cars. I bet they need to know how a 300-pound suburbanite bearded man-child operates their car in the suburbs. I'm a great source of data. Very relatable. Who barely drives. So what I'm doing is I'm just removing the bulk of the solder from these pins. I'm going to get these sort of back, close enough, near enough as it makes no difference, into their original condition, so that we can then drop some Kapton tape down on some of these areas, and then have 4-pin surface mount op amps in the wake of this through-hole crap. And never again will I mess with through-hole. I'll follow my instincts and do everything in surface mount once again. Because part numbers should be written on parts, and everything should be small and compact and happy. I'll finally be happy. This has been bugging me for a while. I mean, the through-hole thing was fine, but I'm just gonna have a better time if I rip this all up and I do this in the way that I'm used to. Hold on, I'll read that comment in just a second. I'm trying to go quickly today. So I apologize, but I can't spend a ton of time reading comments. Blood sugar was dropping. I'll know within the next hour. It's 74. I'm at the 11.5-hour mark for insulin activation of it. Yeah, I've got a ton of Humalog in my system right now. I can check that out. It's probably still over peak. Yeah, 384 is not great. Let's make that a little bit more opaque. What's going on here? There we go. Height, blah, 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 blah. Where's opacity? Height and width. Body background. Shut down when not visible. Refresh browser when Steam becomes active. Okay. How did I make that clear? Hold on a sec. Be curious how you solder an SMD IC to the board. I do what I like to call live bugging it. Live bugging, not dead bugging. We live bug it. And that means that we basically glue it down with a piece of FR4, not FR4, we glue it down with a piece of Captain tape under it. Hold on one sec. Filters. Actually, we could do the solder, we might do the solder corner method with one little piece of FR4. Not FR4, of Captain tape. Why do I keep... I'm saying that because I'm trying to do two things at once right now. There we go. That's a little weird. I don't know why that top piece is clear, but yeah, you can see what my glucose level is doing. It's just pinged. It's pinged all the way at the top there, and it's only just started to come back down. So we're gonna have a downward slope here that hopefully takes me into the normal glucose level territory. Let's go back to what I was doing. I'm not gonna get too distracted today, even though I already have. I want to actually get progress done here and not just waffle about. So I need to actually work. I need to do work. It's not me, it's you. Wait, it's not you, it's me. Oh no, too much solder. There's a little piece of wire left over. What is that doing there? Oh no, that's the LED. Hold on a sec, I need to resolder that. Get a little bit of solder on this. That's the LED I did not see. Yep. You leave the iron on there just a little bit longer than you think you should because you want to make sure that that other side of the board gets soldered as well. There's a lip here. I didn't clamp it all the way up at the top. Again, I need to do a circuit board sized divot in the front, in the jaws of this clamp, because it'll be able to hold the pressure of me pressing downwards with the soldering iron and then just, you know, grip the whole thing in general. That'd be nice. We'll do that at some point. It's going to take a lot of setup to make sure that everything's nice and square. You don't want your vise to be off square. You're distracting me from 3D slicing? What is that? Beautiful as it looks at the top, even with complex circuitry. Never see the bottom. This is ugly. This is not pretty. This ain't pretty. This ain't pretty. This method is an ugly way of doing things, but it does work. You know, you see these, oh man, the Japanese electronics Twitter will make fools of us all. They do things so cleanly. We ain't clean. We're just trying to get our lean on. All right, got that up. I don't care about preserving these resistors. They can just go the way of the wind. I got plenty more. You complain about how expensive parts are when you buy them, and then when it comes to using them, you treat them like they're worthless. You treat them like they didn't cost any money at all. They probably have clean desks too. Oh yeah, they would have that too. Little organizing bins for everything to go in. Jerks. Bunch of jerks. What am I running into? I guess nothing. Weird. Felt like I was hitting an invisible wall. Dun dun dun. Okay, so there's that cleaned up. Hey, what's up, Celia? Cleaning up. We're cleaning up yesterday's work. I got the brain vein. My eyelid twitched a little bit too much at how sloppy things were. And so I'm taking it all down and we're going to put surface mount op amps in because that's what I'm used to using. We'll probably have to clean all the flux off of the board too. I want to make sure that that FR4 is actually able to stick. But the Engineer SS 01 or 02 is getting rid of the bulk of the solder, and then I'm going to come in with the braid and clean up the pads. And that's a nice, efficient way to do it. Oh, this is what was catching me. There's an entire resistor sitting upwards. Do exclamation point Discord, and it'll give you a link there for you. Oh, yeah. Exclamation point Discord for my Discord. Discord. Yeah, Discord. No? Really? Well, I guess it'll come up. Huh. I thought that would give a Discord link. I mean, it'll come up in a minute. Nightbot has a timer on it for reminding. Oh, right, you're on YouTube. It's going to be on... I guess I can transfer... Well, no, because then it'll dox my name. I don't want to... You guys already know what my name is. I just don't want to post that. Yeah, it'll come up on Twitch, and if you use the command in Twitch, you'll be able to get it. Yeah, Nightbot is Twitch. I know. I'm aware. I don't have a lot of whistles and bells on YouTube yet. There you go, yeah. Thup. And then what I'm doing is I'm resetting it, and when I do that, it poops out the solder. I see. There's a lot of hullabaloo in the Discord. A lot of people who can't make it to the streams hang out in there. Can't make it to every stream. It's not the pandemic anymore. All right, we're just moving through this. I'm cleaning up the bulk of the solder. I'm going to come back with solder braid and just quickly go over these pins in order to clean them up. And then I'll take a Q-tip with some Goof Off, which is orange flavored acetone, to get rid of the excess of flux that are on all of these things. These are insidious. These little ones where it's, you can see that the solder is in the via, not really on the pad. That one's annoying. That'll get fixed with solder braid. But the ones where the solder is down low, you don't necessarily get that melted metal contact patch to transfer heat. So I'll put this on here, and you'll see it won't really flow over. I can kind of rock it back and forth a little bit. I'm just not getting... Oh, no, I guess it did flow over. I just didn't get any indicators that it was flowing over. Usually you get this nice little indicator that it's flowing over. You have trouble with this, more heat or just holding the heat on a little longer to the point where both sides are molten, and then the solder sucker can get in there and sort of provide suction. All right, you have one more to disassemble, and then we got to go to the one all the way on the end. Now this one has a connector right here, so I'm actually going to tilt this so that I don't get the iron too close to plastic. Yep, I like Goof Off. It works really well. I mean, acetone on a Q-tip would probably do the same job. It's just I got used to using Goof Off. And that stuff will melt things. It'll melt plastic. It's basically acetone with some extra little funny stuff in there. And it's like, well, bother, isn't that going to melt the electronics? Well, yeah, sure. It would probably do damage if I let it sit for a long time, but I don't. I immediately clean it up. I wipe it up, and then I let it dry and all that stuff. So basically, it just populates that Q-tip. There's a little end of the wire that's sticking into this. Where are we? We're all the way over here. There we go. I'm going to get that one off. There have been times when I was able to just kind of sweep the iron across the board and get all the stuff off, especially with surface mount. Okay, why did that fly out of my... It just fucking flew out of the pincers. I guess one of those legs is an LED, so I gotta do it like this. There we go. All right, now for this. My thumb muscles are like fucking swole as hell from operating the spring of this thing. The hoof tip? Which one's the hoof tip? I don't have one of those. No, pointy tweezers are not the answer. Maybe for digging under the wire, they might be good. But like pointy tweezers, when I'm trying to hold electronics, will end up like going like that. You know, you'd be holding onto something like this, and they'll go whoosh, and then they sort of like flick away the part. The hoof tip lets you suck solder. I've never seen the hoof tip. It seems a little bit too specific. As if I'm having trouble sucking the solder right now. The well tip with a tiny reservoir. Those seem too specialized. Like, we're doing just fine with this. Good time zones? What? Yeah, I mean, maybe next time with shopping tips, I'll look for it. And this one, come on. Oh. These two right here. Now the vise is getting in the way of that one. I need to reseat this. Eh. Lets you roll the gun? Huh. Interesting. Oh, I see. I see. I see what you're saying. All right, 2 more to go, and then we get the braid on this thing. Cleanup has been a little bit more involved than I would have liked, but it had to be done. I wasn't happy with the circuit. It needs to be perfect in every way. Whoa, what just popped? There must have been some moisture on the board. I just got it. Things never pop when I'm putting heat on it. And this thing just went psh. That was weird. I must have flash steamed a little bit of moisture. Oh, wrong tool. The resistor returned. Who told you could come back? I thought I chased you out of this town. I don't think it was sweat. It didn't work in that area. Got to break up the tasks a little bit so my thumb muscle has time to recover. This operation right there, that requires a little bit of muscle. My strong fingers. I have like giant gorilla hands after I'm done this. The one thing this does is it does break suction from the whole thing jumping in your hand when you activate it. It's got a little bit of inertia to it, and that spring is pretty powerful. Good tool. It's a good tool. Now that requires me to like move my wrist around in a weird way, right? You gotta like twist your wrist in order to do it. If I like punch the drawers in front of me, that'll push the drawers away. Now, ideally, it's just you reach your thumb up and you smash it down like that. That's just how it be. Yeah, the all metal solder sucker that this thing is, nice. The silicon rubber hose in the front of it is replaceable for cheap, and you can refurbish the whole thing. You can take it completely apart down to its bones and then totally redo it. Oh, these are the switch contacts. I went too far. I went too far in a few places. Go, and then maybe for good measure, get this one. That didn't quite work, but that's okay. The solder braid will get that one. All right, so there's that. We've removed all of the stuff that I laboriously put together last stream. Damn it, we got one more. Hold on a sec. There's going one more. One more to go. One more to go. One more to go to undo all of the things that I done. We'll sweep off the desk and we'll get the solder braid out. Those cheap, like the Hakko sucker, the one that's made out of like fluorescent plastic, is horrible because it relies on plastic on the tip. And oh, you could replace the tip. Yeah, well, you can replace the plastic tip, but you can't replace your lungs after having inhaled all of the plastic the plastic smoke you're generating. This one has the silicon rubber hose, silicon rubber, much higher flash point than plastic, cheapo plastic. So this solder sucker is fully refurbishable, and it's not pumping my lungs full of microplastics, which is, boy, that's a loose criteria to have, but the fact that I have to state it at all is crazy. And then I have one of the little motorized ones, and that would have been great for this, but it requires pulling out, and it's a lot of effort to pull out. It's not really that much effort, let's be honest. It's actually very easy to get out. I have it almost even plugged in right now. It's just that little tiny bit of extra effort is not worth it. So just using the Engineer SSO1, perfectly fine. The crappy ones don't have near the amount of suction. I mean, that Hakko one is a giant spring, although I haven't used it in like 30 years. I've never had issues pulling out. Good to know. Oh, my thumb is tired. Bought a cheap clone of the same sucker that, oh, I see. You got a cheap clone. You can't quite see it, but this used to have the Star Trek The Next Generation font. You got to look for that. But yeah, the market is flooded with these. Even the cheap ones are probably just as refurbishable as this one. Cool chemical place. Oh, yeah, that fire. It said it was biological stuff. It's like, what the fuck? There's a lot of nasty shit in the air. A lot of nasty, nasty shit. Get that resoldered. Okay, so now we are down to visible holes and components, and all of my op amps have been removed, and in their place, I'm gonna put something that's just about the same size. But it's gonna be surface mount, and that means it'll be infinitely more workable by yours truly, who is used to it. So I'm gonna go from this row all the way to the bottom with solder braid, clean these up. Then we'll remove the flux, and then it's pretty much ready for us to start working with again. Just brush all this stuff into a pile here. I either had to use both hands to reset, or I pushed the plunger to the counter table. That eventually hurts the shoulder. Yeah, unless you come up with a method, if you're doing it like right-handed, if you can just do this. Because that would be one way to do it. Here, technique-wise, what was I doing this whole time? Well, right now, that's the 3D printer. This muscle is tight, and it's not happy with me, this whole thumb muscle, because what I was doing is resetting it like this, and then setting it off like this. So that, I got the microscope view from above, got the soldering iron coming in from here. It's just a one-hand operation. I can do it all day if I have to, but then my thumb muscle gets kind of annoyed with me. So you switch up tasks for a little bit. The alternative would be, and I could probably only do this in my right hand, but taking it, reverse, dropping it, picking it up again, then doing it again, and then do this, and then that, and then you're ready to go. And that's using your much larger arm muscles in order to reset it. It will probably eventually hurt your shoulder or your arm or your bicep, but you know, you can put a little bit more oomph into it this way. And also your thumb would probably start to hurt after a little while because you're holding on to it tightly in order to reset that plunger. Or side of the desk, you could do something like this. Doing it like this is that's a little bit more involved. But if my thumb was totally killing me, I could see myself doing that. Doing it like this would hurt your wrist. That would really suck. You have to totally do a rotation, and then you're putting pressure on the wrist. That's not going to be good for you. Something in front of you, you could push it against. I don't know. This has been the easiest method for me. Reset it on your hip. I guess you could stab it into the old leg, make a nice little spot for a bruise. But yeah, this has just been my method, is just doing it this way. And your thumb will eventually build a good muscle for it. What am I doing? Displaying techniques of solder sucking. I'm showing chat how to suck. Okay, bonk. Let's remove some of this solder. We're undoing all of the work that I've done in the past week in order to do things with surface mount, unholy things, in order to build a tester for modular synthesizer modules. So with the solder braid, it's just a lot of heat equals a lot of suck. And we're using the surface tension of the solder. Now, the real technique is to spread this stuff out with your hands. I don't want to get the flux on my hands. This is pretty clean copper out of this stuff. Sometimes people add flux to the solder braid. Sometimes the solder braid has flux in it. I'm not totally sure what the chem wick has. Well, being that their name is chem wick, I would assume that there are chems in the wick. But it's pretty clean copper, and the solder likes to stick to it. Now, you'll never remove all the solder unless you use mechanical means, because that solder is gripping into the grain structure, like molecularly gripping into the pad. But don't apply heat for too long, and you need to make sure that your heat is getting removed along with the braid. You don't want to pull that pad off, and you don't want to apply so much heat and mechanical, rough. You don't want to rough it up mechanically, because it'll separate from the FR4 pretty easily. The FR4 is a fiberglass circuit board substrate. You see, this one I'm starting to worry about. That one's looking like it's coming up a little bit. It's looking a little conical. And if you're really trying to remove a lot of solder, you start further up the braid and pull it back. And just the name of the game is a lot of heat, and you let it kind of propagate into the braid, and it will pull away a majority of that solder. We've gotten real close up with this before. Maybe one day when I get more people watching and I can guarantee that somebody will clip it and try to put it on Reddit, we could show this really, truly up close. I can set up for all of the real macro stuff that I'm capable of doing here. I can do some real fucking strong macro with all the stuff that I have, the lenses that I have, and the light sources that I have. We can get real close, and I could show that capillary effect in action. But I don't have enough people watching, to be frank, even though my name is not Frank. But if we were going to be like Frank, I would mention all that stuff that I just did. All right, so this is looking kind of rough. It's looking a little solid. I could run the iron on it and spread it out a little bit further, but I think I'm going to only get a couple more out of this before I cut it and start over with the solder braid. You kind of look for open areas and hopefully kind of work everything together until your solder braid is covered in solder. But there's a certain point of diminishing returns with it. And where you draw that line depends on who's buying the solder wick. This stuff is copper. It can get a little expensive. We try to maximize the amount that we use. Yeah, see, diminishing returns. I'm not really getting anything happening there. Try another spot. Really let that kind of soak in, and then carefully remove it with the heat. I don't want to let it solder itself down. Otherwise, we pull on the pad, and typically with this cheap board, we pull off the pad. See, that's not really doing anything there. We're going to move on. I'm going to clip this down where there's fresh stuff. You know, I call it expensive, but it is actually pretty cheap stuff. We can try again, and we'll see how much better this looks. Not that great. With your typical surface mount pads, you can get them to look like new, but there's only so much suck. I don't need to flux this wick. Some wicks have flux in them. Being that this is called chem wick, I figure it's got it in there already. But when I struggle with it, if I'm really struggling with the solder wick, I will dabble a little flux on it. But this stuff generally doesn't need it. Plus, everything's already covered in flux from the initial soldering. I'm going to be braiding my own copper reclaimed from wires. Worked great. That's penny pinching. Is it really worth your paycheck and the time you spend opening up a bunch of videos on how to braid? I've done that for a couple wiring harnesses before, is braid the wires. It's fun to do. You look up videos and you got like a little girl teaching you how to do like a 5-wire braid. Like, this is gonna look great. All the kids in the playground are gonna be jealous of this thing. I just didn't have money. It's not that expensive. I mean, I don't understand. Like $5 for this whole reel, and the whole reel lasts me like 7 projects. When I load my wick with fresh flux, I find it goes so full of tin that it's blobbed from the tin on either side. Maybe that would benefit me, but I don't feel like breathing in flux today. Got enough exposure to that stuff. I do not like using flux. It's a necessary evil at times. All right, we're almost there. These are looking okay anyway. We use the solder sucker on these ahead of time, so there's not that much dramatic flowing in. If I desoldered something from a pin that was covered in solder, you'd get a little bit more of that dramatic look, like this right here. If you do that, you can see it like shloomf, and away goes the solder, and then the wick starts to change color throughout. And at times, I've had to add solder to the solder wick in order to get it to flow properly, in order to add just a little bit more to it so that it was able to properly wick into all of the copper. Usually that's also like an interface thing. If you have that bit of solder, that'll give you a better heat transfer than if you're just bunched up against the dry thing. So like if I add a little bit of solder right here, boom, and then all of a sudden the rest of it solders as well. All right, I'll stretch my legs and get a Q-tip here. Oh, my legs, my engineering legs, they've been folded for a century. Ah! Okay, let's get a Q-tip. Actually, it's probably going to take more than one. Let's be honest. So 2 Q-tips. I'm going to clean my ears with them. No, I'm going to clean this thing with it using goof off. So what I do is I add a little bit of goof off to one of them, and then I dry with the other. One end gets the goof off, the other end dries it off. So I'm just going to do some drippy droppies. Oops, I overshot. That's all right. So that, like that. And then we can just get in there and scrub this stuff clean. It's not really going to hurt anything. I know it's acetone, but it does well to break up those little bits of flux on the board. I can come in with the other end and dry it off. And since it's cotton, it's renewable. Of course, I don't know how renewable it is when, you know, you're disposing of the cotton in the garbage, but still. Technically, it's, you know, somebody sent in a bunch of these foam Q-tips, and it was plastic and foam, and it's like, this is just microplastics. Like, I might as well just throw them at a dolphin. I used them up, because otherwise I'd be throwing them out. But, like, it seemed really irresponsible. Goof off. This is goof off. It's orange flavored acetone. I do have an ultrasonic cleaner, and I do have simple green that I could use in order to clean off the circuit board, but that would take time, and this is just easy. Also, my ultrasonic cleaner is filled with alcohol because I've been doing 3D printing, so. Oh God, I'm getting it all over. Well, this is a much simpler circuit. It doesn't have a lot of plastic stuff on it, so the goof off's not really going to do anything to these electronics. They're pretty robust, if we're going to use that word. How did you know that word, Martha? Scrubbing the circuit for flux sake. Okay, so it's cleaned off a little bit there. I mean, it's still, obviously, there's still flux in other parts of the board, but who cares? And then this stuff, it's tossed in the garbage. Yeah. Ah, one piece went in, one piece went out. All right, give that a little bit of time to, like, dry off. I squirted it a little bit too hard in some places. There we go. That doesn't look like new, but we did refurbish this enough that I can actually work with it. Zippo fluid. No. Let's goof off. Brushes that used to come from the dollar store. I've got a bunch of toothbrushes, but I mean, toothbrushes are okay. Q-tips are fine. They're, you know, you got them anyway. You got to stick them in your ears, lose your hearing, bunch up a bunch of your earwax so you have like a Shrek-style earplug, and then use them on electronics to clean up. Yeah, I keep quoting that. I keep quoting the behind-the-scenes Phantom Menace thing of I may have gone too far in a few places, made mostly famous by Red Letter Media. And the Plinkett reviews. Okay, here's all that lead garbage. You're supposed to put this in your mouth, apparently, according to chat. All right, that's in the garbage. Desk is cleaned. Don't stick those things in your ears. Well, why would it feel so good if you're not supposed to do it? All right, now that we're huffing paint fumes, essentially, that's all cleaned up. It is time to put this stuff back together. Now, putting it back together means putting op amps down on the board. All those surface mount or those through-hole op amps are just garbage now. I need to find my surface mount op amp collection, and we can get the chips down with a little bit of Captain tape. And I will show you that whole method. Oh, they're right here. Oh, sweet. That was easy. So we're putting down TL07 2s. That's a 2 op amp 8-pin chip. TL07 2, and it's such a jelly bean part that I have tons of them. You know, the chips that you think you're going to be using a lot of, you order a lot of. And the TL07 II is a good op amp. It works in a lot of different applications. It can go pretty fast, it can go pretty slow. For audio stuff, it's okay, it sounds nice. So this is our go-to. And so I have a lot of them in the drawer. A lot. Maybe too many. Do I have any other LT, MPC, TL07 II? Well, this is a different package. What's this one? Oh my God. No, that's a crime. That's too small. Nope, too small. It's still a TL07 II, but it's a weirdly wide and the pins are very small. No, we don't need to do that. Acetone is much safer. It doesn't cause or worsen asthma. Then what? Then goof off? I don't like to use flux. Inhales acetone instead. I have a big fan on me, you freaking jerk-offs. God. Can't have anything around here without you guys bitching about it. All right, so let's get these. I just lost one. Where did it go? Where did the third one go? Wait, it was right here. Hold on a second. Wait a minute. Just lost an op amp on the table in front of me. What's going on? I got two of them right there. Under the Chemwick? No. What the f... How did that happen? Is it gonna drop out of here? No. Let me move these to a sensible spot. That's not right. There we go. Dude, I'm like 1,000 years old. I think I missed the boat on the whole kid thing. I think I missed the boat on that one. You never know, but I'm starting to know. Way over to the right. It's like Blue's Clues. Start putting stuff away, that'll help. Yeah, when you get to working on circuits like this, things get kind of crazy. And stuff goes all over the place. It could be stuck to something for all I know. Like 8 years older. Yeah, you know. I'm at a loss. I don't know where the fuck this thing went. Where did it go? Is it in my pants? Well, that would mean it's on the floor, and I'm never going to see it again. I might as well get another one at this point. Not like I have a thing that's full of them. Oh yeah, the Teensy gets here today. So the Teensy 4.1 gets here today. So we'll be able to flesh out a little bit more of the digital part of the circuit as well if we don't get too far. Edge of the desk by the black plate. Oh, this is not it. That's a header. That should go here. And then these and this. And then over here, this is a potentiometer. Look again. It's not under there. I genuinely do not know where it went. Very strange. You know, usually they don't go too far from where you initially drop them. I don't have troubles like this usually. You know, you can spot these things from miles away. Hope Willa's getting her eye drops this afternoon. I'll have to see. Towards my legs. What do you... Wait, whoa. Below the boxes. Below the pill box. This one? This is through hole. Unfortunately. That's a through hole. I think that's a MCP 6002. There's one way over here. Don't tell me this is what you were talking about. I think that's it. I think it flew all the way over there. Yep, that's it. This is the TL07. There we go. Okay, cool. All right, so put these aside. That's my resistors are on this one. That aside there, and then get this on camera. And now we're going to do my method for mounting surface mount chips to a through-hole board. So take a look. How do I want to do this? Well, sometimes when you want to mount a chip, you'll do it dead bug. So you do it upside down, and then you've got all of these wonderful little tabs that you can then solder to. That's all well and good, but I don't really like that method because then you can't see what the chip is. So what I do is I live bug it. And in order to live bug it, what you can do is you can get it to line up on the 0.1 inch spaced holes so that you can solder 4 corners. So here, I have 4 corners available to me, and I am in the middle of this trace, or in the middle of this track. So these two short out on those pins. All I need to do is get a piece of Kapton tape and box off these pins right here. And then I've got a little pad where I can glue my well, no, I don't even need to use glue. We don't need to involve super glue in this. All I need to do is just attach this straight down on the 4 corners. And then I've got a space where I can get wires in to those other 2 pads. So that's the method. Now, the question is, it's not going to be even in here, and I could do it like way out on the corners and make it an even number of pads this way, but it barely reaches out to those pads. This is why I like square pads on some of the perforated board that I have, and I would like to order more of it, but it's just not as readily and easily available as this stuff. This stuff I don't like because you've got plated through holes. The real stuff, the good stuff, is this stuff, where you have nothing on one side. It's just FR4, and then on the other side, you have square holes. And the cool thing with the square holes is that when you do this method, it makes it so much easier. And it's also, oh, that was a big hiccup. I had a sandwich with a lot of different preserved meats on it, which is not good for heartburn. If you do it this way, you know, you can kind of reach those corners. If you do it this way on this one, you can obviously reach everything, and it's just a little bit more organized for putting resistors on. But unfortunately, I mean, somebody found me a link to this stuff a while ago when I ordered a bunch of it. I've run out of it by now. These pads are easy to lift off because they don't have the advantage of the partial rivet that a via creates. So you got to be really careful with it. But this is how I make really good surface mount boards. I just don't have I don't have any of that stuff left. I need to order some. This stuff is so much easier to find. And if we did a rework of this scale on that board, on that white board, it would destroy a lot of the pads. So, all right, so Kapton tape and a sharp knife, a knife. Make a Gerber. Nah, I don't think that's gonna do. That seems like a bit much. I can just order it if I find out where to order it. It's just I gotta search around for what the right thing is. That's not Gerber level Berber baby. Gerber baby. Vampire baby. Sorry, my brain's all over the place today. I'm just quoting Red Letter Media jokes. All right, throw this thing in here for later me to deal with. About 5 sheets of the square single-sided I wiped down with muriatic acid before soldering to clean the copper oxide off. What? I thought the holes are plated. I didn't think there was any need for stuff like that. That sounds a bit extra. Yeah, the stuff that I got has plated holes, so it's a little bit more civilized. I don't have to do like an acid wash or anything like that. End of my tape. There you go. So unfortunately, this won't be even on there, but it will take up a lot less space. What's up, CDM? Or Commander. It tarnishes and won't take solder. That's crazy. The stuff that I have is plated, so it'll always take that solder. Oh my god, how am I gonna get down to this thing? Let's just cut a piece off. With this method, I will not need to use glue to hold this thing down. I mean, I could even sink it a little bit further up. Like, well, no, but I still need power to get in there. Those it goes directly, and then I do power on the other one. So let's just put it like in the middle, just so we have a little bit of space to alter our circuit. So right there in the middle, so it's these 3 right here. So those 3. I mean, I could even scrape up the traces if I wanted to be that final with it. Just a little bit like that. Oh, those are going to create problems. I like the claw tip. It's helped me out quite a bit lately. Hopefully that peels up. The corners are the worst part. There you go. Give me my chip back. All right, and I guess we determined that the best place for them to... do I want to do it on the row below? No, I want to keep it up there. SOIC to dip socket? Yeah, I've got the right here. I got one right here. They just take up a fairly large amount of room. You know, I could do that and have the pins on sockets and then have these able to be popped out, but these are more for like breadboarding stuff. And I guess I can trim the edges too to make it nice and tight, but I don't want to waste all these. They're good in something like this where I've got a lot of components and a lot of stuff going on, and it's sort of a one-off research project where I'm making something that's going to help me make other things. And so having them able to like pop out would be fine. That'd be great. Yeah, oh, I don't know if there's like a socket, like with the through-hole stuff. I've seen people modify through-hole sockets to do weird stuff. But no, this is a easy cheesy method for us to put a little circuit down. I don't suspect a lot's going to happen to this one because the TL072 is a pretty strong chip. I mean, they don't typically crap out like you know you would have with other chips like what do you call it? Things like ... microcontrollers and stuff like that. My only issue now is that we have an even number of holes and this is an odd number of holes. So there's an extra row here. Nothing I can do about it. If we were designing this in CAD, it wouldn't matter. I would just center this and everybody would be happy. But we're not. We're here in the meat world. We're here in meat space, meeting it up with each other, getting our meat on. And as meaty people like we have to make it work. Why am I so shaky? Jeez, all right. Probably my massive glucose level coming into play. So I'm actually going to use the thinner solder for this so I don't overdo it with the solder on these. Yeah, I'm doing it live. Oh dear God, I need to change tips. And only for a minute, mind. No, I actually do need the tip. We're going to use this tip. This tip is good for the size of surface mount. It's a little bit more of sort of a pencil tip. And it's not... Well, you know what? No, we're not. I don't think we are. We're going to use this one, the one that I've been using. This actually works well for surface mount stuff, and it has a lot of heat in it, and I can maneuver it just right. This one, the pencil-y one, I'm starting to remember why I switched off of it. This used to be the one that I would keep on this iron at all times, but it has a little bit of trouble kind of making contact with stuff, and if it meets anything larger than this, it's unable to solder it. Whereas with this, I can jump from surface mount to through hole without losing a lot of my abilities. Anything else? There's the big chisel, but I'm not using that. Slanted chisels I don't really use. The pencil tips are good for smaller surface mount than 0805. But I don't find myself swapping a ton. It's just really big tip and then middle-sized tip. And then if I really need to, tiny for the really, really small stuff. But you don't really want to be working in that size. If you're doing that to yourself, you owe it to yourself to not work in that size. It is a pain in the butt. Oh, what's going on? We turned off? There we go. Turn it back on. My iron decided that I fell asleep in bed with the soldering iron, and it decided to turn itself off to save me from a house fire. Rummaging around in my garage, and I bumped into a pretty full spool of solder. Hey, there you go. Is it plumbing solder? Is it like silver solder for plumbing? That's where I'd find garage solder. solder. It's not looking very even. There we go. And just like that, I've got a chip anchored down to my board. Simple as. Changing out chips is not easy with this method. You need to kind of bend up all the wires that you've attached to stuff, and then you can swap out the chip. It's not impossible, but it's just not preferably easily, like it would be with a socket. This does fine, though. What's wrong with plumbing solder? This is the solder that I would find in the garage. That's just what I would find. Hey, Pyro, how's it going? I've gone back to my roots and I've decided to rip up the whole circuit and make it surface mount. It's just the way of things. Now we go in between the next two LEDs, which would be this and this are the LEDs. This circuit, by the way, this circuit is designed just to give us an output LED. So being high Z, the sensing element of the circuit does not clash with the signal coming in. But when the voltage gets high, this thing will go green, and when it gets super low, this thing will go red. So it'll just tell us the status of stuff. I guess I'll offset them all like this. I gotta offset them all with this extra row here because of the even and uneven number of pins. The other way I guess I could have done it is if there's uneven this way, yeah, I probably could have, I could do it like that, but then my wires have to go over to the LED, so we'll just do it the way we did before. And these three are our new covering. I guess I crinkled up the Captain tape. You treat this stuff like you get it for free, like Uncle Sam is paying for it. Internet is fixed for now. There's a lot of people without internet, and I know for you it's not the same deal, but a lot of flooding and stuff going on down south. All right, and now we cut. Cutting, I'm cutting. Florida man found with router equipment on roof. I know people have been using like Skylink and stuff. Starlink. Starfucker. I don't know what the fuck they call it stuff. Starfucker Incorporated. Oh, it's Kessler solder. That's good stuff. I know that name. For somebody who doesn't know a whole lot of products, I know Kessler. I did their run, the Kessler run. So few parsecs. Okay, that apparently does not allow me to correct. It's the cut in the tape sort of was driving the motion of my claw. And now, unfortunately, I've got a deep gash in my circuit board. But we're not going to mind stuff like that because we're out here in the mines. We're making things work. We can't be bothered with cleanliness and prettiness. Oh God, but I can't live with that either. Why did that deviate like that? It's like no, stop it. Stop deviating like that. Son of a bitch. Stop it. It's like I can't control the claw. I'm using the claw, which should be more controllable, but apparently it's not. This is why I'm not a neurosurgeon. More of a neurotic surgeon. More of an erotic surgeon. What the? There we go. And then I go over this one because there's an extra row there. Just go right like this. Just like this. Son of a... Please stay stuck. It should really be a light touch, and I'm not putting a light touch on it. There we go. The talons of bother. All right, that's pretty sloppy, to be honest. I guess I bet you if I use the other knife tip, I don't know where they went. I need to go find them. But the other knife tip probably wouldn't press down so much or persuade me to press down that much, and I probably could have done a little cleaner. But this is under a microscope. They say don't look at this under a microscope, and here we are with one. So predictably, it's a little bit sloppy. Anchor pin, good to go. Where did the chip go that I had? It's stuck to my wrist. There it is. And pin 1 is facing upwards because the plus pin is where we're sending our external signal in. You got to do your own math. These are 0.1 inch spaced, so that'll give you an idea of what the magnification is. I did not do this by the numbers. I did this by feel. So I bought the Kurokesu enclosure for the webcam, and then that adapted it to a C-mount lens. Actually, did I make a C-mount lens adapter for this? I did. We took apart the camera and we made a C-mount lens adapter, and I attached the converter to that, I believe. How did we do this originally? I did it in some DIY way and it was terrible. And then I bought the Kurokesu enclosure, and that gave me immediate C-mount lens compatibility, to which I attached an adapter and then a Nikon lens. And that, for some reason, gives me this incredibly powerful microscope that's offset by at least 2 feet from the subject. But this is by feel. If this didn't work out, I don't know what I would have done. Probably explored C-mount lenses to try to get that right. But the Nikon lens is perfect because I can then put filters on it. And I've got the secret sauce of what makes Obother's setup look really, really nice on top of this. There really isn't that much secret sauce. If you just put together the stuff without the filter, you'd be fine. I just have an ultraviolet filter on it as well. All right, so that's the second one done. And now we move on to this one right here. This one doesn't even look like solder was anywhere near it. How dare you? A little bit of tape. Secret sauce is Thousand Island mixed with ketchup. That's just more Thousand Island-y. That swings it over to mayo and ketchup. And then they put a little bit of like pickly stuff, like maybe a little dill or something like that. That's Thousand Island. But like you can just make it. You can just mix mayo and ketchup and you've got lazy Thousand Island, which is a good dip. I dip French fries into it. That's why I'm fat. This is why I'm fat. I forget how that song goes. This is why I'm hot. This is why you're not. I don't remember. This is so many years ago. So many years lost to rap hits of the yesteryear. I could try to utilize the edge that I've already got on this thing. That wouldn't be too bad, right? Where's the other one? It's like, yeah. Oh, it's right up against there. There's not an extra hole. It would be these 3 right here. Damn it. I screwed it up. I guess I could accept that. It's these 3 that I'm trying to cover. If I get close to this one, it's okay. It'll still solder. Solder! Oi! You got a license for that solder. Sold. I can't even make fun of accents. I'm terrible. Please stabilize. Please stabilize and go the direction I want you to. Why are you like this? Why are you like this? Oh, God. The uncontrollable claw of Mr. Claw. Mr. Kennedy Claw. Mr. Right-Hand Claw. Jeez, that was a bad one. It just doesn't go the direction I want it to. I think I need the other knife to do this properly. I don't remember it being this sloppy. Tried to pull it back, but it just decided to shear. I don't know. I wouldn't buy Thousand Island dressing. I just make it. Just make it. It's fine. Owie. I think that almost cut my thumb. That felt super sharp. There's a little piece of the blade that kind of goes down like that. I almost cut myself. No blood. We're good. It's not seated properly on the scalpel thing. Oh well, doesn't matter. All right, so let's get the last one down, and then we can just wire up the circuit. We'll do power on ground, and then we figure out where the signal traces are going. It should be relatively easy. It might look sloppy, but it'll be a little bit neater. Bring that back up here. Let's just get this thing going. Possible we could even get this thing running today. Just this one piece of the circuit. So, like I said, taking baby steps. We are doing little tiny bits of functionality at a time. So this specific circuit is a nice, easy one to do on camera. And then with tomorrow, I can retool the bottom layer for the Teensy 4.1. I can't believe some of the abuse of Teensy 4.1's. Cyano Cat posted in the Discord is hilarious. Was that Cyano? No, was that Nothing's Working? Somebody posted in the Discord a giant AT-AT walker that this guy can basically sit in and ride. And each individual servo that he maximized, that he created this giant version of, the giant servo, they all had Teensy 4.0s in them. We were going to run the entire module testing module with the Teensy 4. And then the control module has a Teensy 4.1 in it, which is insane. That's a lot of computing to put in to your servos. Saw the thumbnail for that one on YouTube. Yeah, it's a fascinating build. It's like this person did not consider that you could just buy metal gears, or you can just go to a junkyard and get like car parts and use those gears maybe. Instead, they decided to enlargify their 3D printed gears so that they had giant man size. They made you feel like you were in like a movie where you get shrunk. They're just these huge 3D printed gears, and it works. It's able to shuffle along the ground. It's very fascinating, but I think there's a little bit too much computing power in that thing. Oh, was that blood? Did I draw blood? No, but there's a little mark. I can see it. There's a little mark on my thumb where it met that blade. Yeah, it's a fascinating build. It's very cool, but it's hilarious that they would think that you need to 3D print the gear parts, the gearing for something that's supposed to hold your weight up. It's a little crazy, if you ask me. But I guess it works out. You know, those 3D prints can be pretty strong with their big comedy-sized gears. You could shrink that leg, the gearbox and the leg, down to like this size if you were able to make some aluminum parts. Okay, so we got our op amps down. I have somewhere on this machine, I have the TL072. That's not it. This is the planning for the RC car body. Oh, there's that butt though. Nice. We were looking at car bodies. That's an alternative that I could do for the RC car build, but for now I'm not. First of all, I don't know. Can I find that as a 3D model? What is it? The N74? I think we did find one. No, it was on Thingiverse. Thingiverse. N74? No. Hyundai. Seems like the N74 came out and only cyberpunk nerds remember it. But we're all like, where's that car? Can I buy that car? I would like to buy that car. What was it called specifically? I'm not coming up with anything. Envision 74. There's the low poly model. I don't think that would look great in a 124 scale RC car. That's a little bit too low